everybody, it's jrob. We got a new idea for these live Blitz videos. I'm going to do a seek for a 3-minute game, and then I'm going to swap over to some analysis software and take a look. I'm hoping, like, okay, here's the bird's opening. Very rarely do I get an opportunity to play this, so this is probably a good video to start out with. I definitely know I'm not playing the best moves here. I think I've seen the bird's opening maybe a handful of times since I started playing chess. It's not a very common opening that I come across. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what the moves the analysis software recommends and the database. Let's see. I want to get developed. So I'm going to do just some standard things here. Get the castle taken care of. Not too sure exactly how I want to play this yet. I'm thinking maybe bishop with queen. Let me see if I can pull these pawns down a little bit. Now I'm attacking an unprotected pawn here. Doesn't have a lot of options to defend it other than bringing the bishop to d4. So I'm expecting bishop to d4, or pushing the pawn up will do it too. That, however, should allow me to snug my knight up here. Okay. Get my bishop another way out of here. Bishop's starting to look a little silly though. But I should be able to pry apart this. So I'm going to go ahead and take there. And now I have check. Now, does that give me anything? That's the question. Well, we'll find out soon enough. It should. Should be able to come now into f2, do some damage. Okay, so the king is on the run, but the game is by far not done. Okay, so what are we going to do in this position? I want to open things up somehow, but I'm not sure exactly which way I want to do this. Almost tempted to sack something here just to rip things open with this position. But I don't see any sound sacrifice lines. I'm taking a look like takes, and then I don't really have much left. I could attack the rook. Doesn't do much for me. Is there another piece I could bring into the attack? Doesn't look like it. So it's... Maybe you guys might have seen some. Maybe the computer analysis after will see something, but that was interesting. Okay, now I can take with check and get this bishop. I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so my opponent just resigned. So that was an interesting opening. I think this is going to be a good first video with this new Blitz format because I never really get a chance to play against a bird's opening. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip over to the analysis software. We're going to take a look, and I'm definitely looking forward to your feedback on this. I think this will make the Blitz videos a little bit more fun and hopefully a little bit more educational at the same time. So let's flip over to the analysis software and see how the game went down. Okay, so my opponent opened up with the bird's opening, pawn to f4. Now, I mentioned that I haven't been able to play against this opening very much, so my book knowledge of this opening is minimal at best. Now, I played d5 in this position. Turns out knight to f6 is better, and it would look something like this. After knight to f6, white can play knight to f3, and then black gets ready to fianchetto. White plays pawn to g3, and then black fianchettos. And this is a very workable position for black. It's, in fact, very marginally better for black. according to the database results. But nonetheless, after the bird's opening pawn to f4, I played d5. Now, d5 itself is played fairly often in this position, as it turns out. Not quite as good positional results as knight to f6. But d5, I like it just because it kind of stakes out control of some center squares. Gets ready for a good game. After here, my opponent played knight to f3. And I played bishop to g4. Now, bishop to g4 in this position actually benefits white's position. So that wasn't a good move for me. In fact, it's not a recommended move at all. Bishop to g4 just basically starts to swing things towards white. Now, it is played. The database has it played on a number of occasions, but better for black would be knight to f6 in this position, and it might look something like this. Knight to f6, white can play e3, black can get ready to fianchetto again, white can play b3 getting ready to fianchetto as well, and then once black fianchettos, black stands marginally better in database results. So that's good to know. But nonetheless, I played bishop to g4. So not quite as good as knight to f6, and now my opponent now played pawn to e3. From here I continued on with a series of moves that actually kind of favored black very slightly in terms of engine analysis. So the play continued as followed as we saw. Here, however, white could have maintained equality, or sorry, not maintained equality, but swung it back much more closer to equality with the castle. Now, my opponent did play d3 in this position, but better for white would have been just a castle, and play would have looked something like black castling, knight to e5. That knight is always a difficult one to deal with there. Bishop captures, queen retakes, and then h6 from black would have been a very equal position. Very, very minute edge to black, but for all intents and purposes, it would have been dead on equal. So this would have favored white a little bit better than white playing d3 in this position, which gave a slight edge to black. So after d3, I continued castling. My opponent played knight to d2. Now in this position, I played my bishop up to b4, but unfortunately this kind of takes away the slight edge that black had in the position. A better move would have been, if we go back one, would have been to move the bishop back to f5, and it would have looked something like this. So bishop to f5, and from here white could play h3, and black can reply h6, and this kind of maintains the slight positional edge that black had according to the engine analysis. It's very close to equal though, but bishop to b4 definitely wasn't in the best interest to play there. But nonetheless, in this position after knight to d2, I did play bishop to b4, and play continued now. White to a3, and I swung the bishop back. In this position here, my opponent played pawn up to b4, but a better move would have been just a straight out castle. That would have done a little bit better for white in that position, but white continued on. I retreated the bishop back. White played pawn to d4, and play continues. I don't want to run out of time here. I want to get to the points where I did notice some things happening. So here, as we get into the interesting part of the game, I decided to take with the bishop, which was a good move. A better move for white that still has an advantage towards black, a growing advantage, was to capture with the knight. Now, white decided to capture with the bishop in the game, but if it would have captured with the knight, play would have looked like this. Black can push the pawn up to g5, white would take, black recaptures, and then after pawn takes, queen can come in now, and it's a better option for white. Still has a kind of a half a point advantage for black in terms of positional strength, but it's definitely much better than what happened in the actual game, because if we go back here, white recaptured with the bishop, and this allowed queen to h4 check, and then once the king went to e2, I missed a nice forking opportunity here that would have given me an immediate 2 points, almost 2 full points of material advantage in terms of positional strength, simply by playing the knight to g3, check, king goes to d3, and now the knight can come in and capture, and then the queen can take. That would have been a better line, so I definitely missed that, and instead I played queen to h4 check, and then when the king moved, I came in and checked with the queen on f2. It turned out that it was okay in the end, but it definitely wasn't as strong as getting that fork on the rook. So just kind of missing that. Like, obviously it's a blitz game, and but I think it's a good illustration of how focused I was on getting that queen to f2 that I was completely oblivious to the other options, and that's something that I need to improve on. And it's just a good example of tunnel vision. Like, I was so focused on f2 that I was, just totally missed the good move to fork the king after it went to d3. Now, as it turns out, I was fumbling around for a move in this position as well. Knight to g3 would have given black a nice position, but my opponent ended up blundering by capturing with the knight, which allowed the fork, and then my opponent resigned. But I hope you guys enjoyed this new format for the live blitz videos. I want to continue doing it. I think it's a little bit more fun from my perspective, and also it's a little bit more educational for me, because I had to go in and look at that bird's opening and find out the lines and take a look at it, what I played and how that compared. So I'm looking forward to your feedback on that, and take care. Hope you enjoy the video, and we'll see you next time.